This is Evan here from Survivalist Gaming, and today we're going to be talking about the forest. But since there's some new info, I figured I'd get a friend here. His name's Grant. And I guess today we're just going to be talking a little bit about the new screenshots they have, and just basically our general opinions and what we think the game is going to be like and what way they're going to take it. So there was about, I think it was 9 new screenshots. And they're all pretty, they haven't really shown anything that we haven't known before, but it gives us a lot better look at what we're going to be seeing. So, yeah, what do you think of the game so far,
I'm
Grant?
seeing a lot of potential, honestly. I haven't seen a game like this in a long time where it's straying away from the current trend of zombies everywhere. At the same time, it's still holding true to that sort of survival horror feel, but it's taking it in its own direction, which I can really, really get behind.
Yeah, and that's the thing about it. Some people automatically see this game and they think, oh, it's zombies. And I've seen a lot of people commenting stuff like that. They just automatically say, oh, another zombie game, just because they see the survival features. And another thing I see is people compare it to other games heavily. Like, I guess that's just something every gamer does now. When they see a game that's in the same genre as another, they just compare it as a mixture of one and then another game, just to, I don't know, make it easier to understand. But yeah, I find it kind of makes it a little more confusing in a sense, because once you get everyone saying, oh, it's like Minecraft, it's Minecraft but with graphics, then people kind of get skewed from what they're trying to sell. Like, this is going to be a horror game, and chances are I'm going to be scared shitless sometimes because I'm not a big horror guy, but I'm still going to find it quite amazing and quite a bit of fun because it's a new concept, and I'm always interested in trying new concepts. Yeah, basically they're trying to explain a little more and trying to get a little more info out now that they're a little farther along in development. And he has said that they're still looking for early January to March release date. So eventually we'll be seeing it, and we'll be also seeing a lot more like screenshots, articles, videos, things like that. And hopefully we'll see pre-orders and shit sometime soon too, because I'm definitely be pre-ordering it.
I will probably wait to see it finished, personally. That's the way I kind of do it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I don't blame you, and there's a lot of people that do that way, and some people that don't even support public alpha releases anyways. And that's your own opinion, and as long as you don't bash a game instantly for having an early alpha release or something like that, which some people do.
Like, there's some games that you should not do an early alpha for. Like, if it's story-based, don't, please, for the love of God. But at the same time, if it's like a game like this, for instance, where it's based upon the experience, less so and more upon sort of you adapting and moving into the environment, incremental updates are good for that, because it gives you a chance to, over time, adapt to more and more. So I feel it's a very suitable platform for a game like this.
Yeah. And a lot of people have been talking about that they want a co-op mode, and even the developers themselves said that they've been experimenting with it and seeing how it would work, but they're not really sure if it would detract from the horror aspect of it, because in reality they're trying to get that I Am Legend vibe where you're by yourself in this hostile environment and you have to figure out your own survival by whatever means necessary. But I guess with the co-op they could still do it in a way that makes it kind of scary, but you never really know, because some people really want to take it too far. Like, I seen a guy one day just kind of completely explaining Rust and saying that that's what developers should do, and it's in no way the way they're trying to take the game in concept or in practice.
Like, I've seen games of such as like Left 4 Dead, for an example. If you have a really good team playing as the survivors, it can really detract from it. It stops being surviving and more just sort of quick, let's get through this to get it done almost. Co-op, in that sense, could really take away from this game. At the same time, though, if they build on the fact and maybe only give it 2-player co-op, right, you can almost play up the horror movie vibe with that. You know, buddy wanders off and falls into a good old punji stick trap. You suddenly, all of a sudden, have upped the ante for the surviving player.
Yeah, like I remember hearing or seeing a quote from the article by analogaddiction.org. It was done just yesterday, actually. It's not a whole lot of new information, but they do go into a little bit of the multiplayer and what Ben thinks about it. Ben's a dev, if you don't know. Says our main focus is on the single-player survival horror experience, but over the course of making the game, we've started to have ideas on how throwing additional player into the world could actually enhance some of the horror randomness in the world, like you were saying before, and letting a second player work with you or kill you. I am inclined to agree with Ben in that another player, it could add new layer horror. So he does want to add that free range to do what you want. So like, say we were building houses on 2 separate plots of land, and one of us ticked each other off, we could eventually get into a dispute, and we could eventually try to kill each other, along with trying to deal with the cannibals and all that stuff. That would make a completely new aspect of the game that would completely vary depending on who you were and who the other person was.
Sure.
So, with the screenshots, there wasn't a whole lot of new stuff, but there was some cool things that they said they've added recently, and also a couple of aspects they didn't really show yet that they have now.
Yeah, for example, in one of the screenshots, you see one of the mutants dragging a second wounded one away from the scene. Now, they've talked about this in articles before where they're going to behave like actual humans. They're not just screaming bad men trying to kill you. They care about one another. So they're going to focus on preservation of one another. And finally seeing that put in game, it really shows what they're going for. It's kind of awesome.
Yeah, I'd hate to mention another game when just after giving that little rant on it, but I remember I Am Alive, the way they did the bullet or the gun system, where a player or where someone or an enemy would actually fear for their life when you aimed a gun at them. It's something that kind of reminds me of this, where they aren't just rushing at you no matter what. Now, the atmospheric lighting and the rendering looks fucking amazing in this game. Like the god rays or whatever they want to call them, and just the way the clouds work. I think they're actually using volumetric
That's
fog.
what it looks like to me. One thing that worries me is I haven't seen any indication of this stuff being actually in engine. All I'm seeing is the screenshots themselves.
Oh.
Are these in engine?
That's all. Yeah, oh yeah. That's all done by Dave Melendez. He has a Unity plugin, actually. He has a site there. He actually does the 3D atmospheric rendering, I mean, and he does the skin models. You know how they seem to like reflect the light and stuff. The sub-base pixel surfacing or some shit like that. something too complicated for me to understand.
I do 3D modeling, so I understand it, and it's really impressive to see this kind of stuff being used in a real-time engine.
Yeah, I'll give you a link to his site, and I'll put one in the description of the video as well. Also, the first time I seen the open water with the boat, the screenshot there, I completely didn't even see the shark. I was looking mainly at the boat and how I could get out there, and I was gonna swim, and then I seen that, and chances are I'm probably gonna want to build a raft. Yeah, so that's the cool aspect though, is that you can build boats and rafts, and you can kind of explore the coastline a little farther away from all the chaos. I'm not sure how they'll handle the weather aspect with the coast, and if they'll change the way the water works.
Uh,
depending
I
on the
imagine they
storms.
would for what it seems like what they're doing.
Yeah, it seems like it.
Yeah.
But you never really know.
I hope they do. It'd be really interesting to see.
Yeah, that way you could get stranded if you had a home on either or. Also, the next thing I noticed was they added spreadable fire. So, kind of like in Far Cry, where if you lit something on fire too close to the forest, you'd have a pretty big problem on your hands. And the thing about this, though, is that it's all permanent. All the things stay burnt, stay destroyed. And the scale of how far the things will spread, I'm not really sure of, because you can't really tell. But in potential, this could be a pretty big game changer in certain
I'm
things,
very
I guess.
interested to see how they handle it, because, like, for example, Far Cry 2, I can remember reading developer journals for it, and them talking about, originally they didn't limit the fire, and they would burn down the entire map.
Yeah, that would be a little crazy.
So, it'll be interesting to see where they draw the line in the sand for this one.
The next thing I seen was the screenshot with the caves, with all the mutants on the roof. That looks fucking pretty crazy. Like, going down in those cave systems and trying to just explore and figure out what's going on is going to be really intense.
That does make one wonder. It looks like they're sleeping in this shot.
Yeah, it seems like they are, and they mentioned in the article that at first they subconsciously brought a lot of influence in from I'm Legend and small things, and then as they developed the game, they noticed it more prominently, and once they mentioned it, they realized it's getting more and more like it. So they eventually just kind of added the fact that you could go into the caves, you could kill them while they sleep, you can hunt them down, and you can actually finish them off as a species, and just in general the way they react to you, which is really cool, because usually you see a lot of games taking focus and influence mainly from other games, but when you go back to those classic novels and you see what really made the genre really start, it kind of brings a new aspect to things, I guess.
I think that's something that the gaming industry especially, needs to look at and sort of start tracing roots back to literary and design references from like classical literature and older films, because stylistically I think games are starting to stagnate a little.
Oh yes, they definitely are, especially when you get the people that are like, oh, it's like this game but with this game, but when it's not so bad when you're the consumer, but when you're the developer saying that, sometimes there's a problem, and it kind of gets a little stale, a little bit predictable, I guess. But what I'm seeing so far in this game for just the environment looks fucking fantastic. Like the way they do the ground clutter and all like the dense forest and stuff. Like most games, you look at those big trees and you think, wow, those are of course just static objects. You'd never be able to take those down or move those. But he did say you could cut down every tree in the game, so I think that means literally every tree. I'd almost like to say challenge accepted and try to cut down every one.
One-man logging operation.
Yeah. Canadian version of Survivor.
Yeah. That there lends itself to some really cool strategies, though. Because you figure you build a bow and then you make a clearing around your sort of safe zone, and then at night you could light fires around your camp and use them as lighting to peg out targets.
Oh yeah, one thing I don't think I mentioned to you actually was that in the first trailer, you might have noticed yourself, but if you pause it when you see all the mutants coming out of the cave on fire, you can see a flare gun in his hand. So that's going to be something really cool, because you probably will only have 1 or 2 shells, but it's still something with considerable power compared to just a stick or a club or something.
One thing I'm going to be interested to see,
continue.
Based on just the presence of the flare gun, right, is there might be limited firearm usage. I wouldn't be surprised. The setting looks like there might be, like, a couple of backwoods cabins with them. if that's the case, I want to see sort of the development of the AI, because I know they're trying to go for very realistic. It makes you wonder how they'll react to firearms.
I'm not sure if they'll really add firearms. I know they're going to think about adding bows, and they do have flare guns, and I think they had Molotovs.
Well, even the one flare gun, right?
But
if a man levels a flare gun at you, you're going to start booking it the other way.
Probably. Oh yeah, like that's the thing. I think they're actually going to react a lot differently. The reason they reacted so one-mindedly towards in the first trailer there was because he was in their cave, and they were kind of in protection mode, I guess. But chances are, maybe if you were actually, you can see it in the screenshot where you see one of them on fire and the other two are just kind of crouching behind him, staring at him, not sure what to do. And you can also see in the trailers, it's kind of hard to see, but you can see them climbing up in the trees and jumping back out in like different times, all randomly. Like it's not scripted events.
That will be horrifying. Being followed from above is just something. I was kind of hoping for it with Aliens versus Predator. I was kind of hoping for that kind of feeling, but it didn't pull it off, and I'm kind of hoping this game will end up doing it.
It seems to be doing it fairly well, especially in those caves. Like, even judging by what we've seen in the second trailer near the end, seems like those guys will be the least of our worries, let alone what else is down there. And they actually seem like a fairly considerable threat compared to most NPC enemies in most games. So yeah, they've confirmed spreading fire, and actually if you can look through the screenshots, you see that they have different enemy types. I'm not sure if it's just random, but it seems like there's one in specific that seems like he's a leader or something, and that's to do with all the body parts on him and stuff when he's running at you.
Yeah.
That actually seems like the thing that they were burning in the second trailer, kind of like that he has posted on his back. Maybe that's some kind of thing that you show that you killed the leader or something. I don't really know, and I'm not really sure how they'll lead you into learning how to do that or why to do that, considering it's such an open world game.
Yeah.
Because they said they're not really going to have any direct dialogue or audio logs or anything like that, so all the story is just environmental, and that's something not a whole lot of games do, and it might be a little different to learn. It might have a slightly different learning curve than most games, but it still looks quite
very much
interesting.
So.
And like you said before, that one in the rain where one of the mutants is dragging away the other one. This is also the first time we see the axe used as a weapon, and chances are it'll be pretty brutal compared to just the stick they were using before.
Yep.
Hopefully, that's the one thing I was wanting to talk about, was the combat. The way the combat works, hopefully it won't be like Skyrim or something like that, where you feel kind of disconnected from your player. Because like, even though it was an okay combat system, you still felt like you were hitting them from a lot farther away than you should have, or you weren't actually hitting them with your weapon. But
you felt like you were flailing.
Like in game. Yeah, basically. Like in the standalone, and for DayZ, they tried to fix that by tracking the weapon the way it moves, and they track the weapon's path, and if it collides with something, it will actually give it a reaction, which is, it seems like what they're trying to do with this game as well, which hopefully they are. Otherwise it'll be a little flaily, like you said.
Something I would like to note is that axe isn't handmade.
No, that's what I was thinking. They did say that you're not going to be able to craft like crazy ass things, so that was probably scavenged from somewheres. And also in the article they said, they mentioned in the environment, I think, that there's abandoned villages.
That'll be
and stuff
interesting to explore.
throughout the island. And the main thing that I'm kind of looking forward to see how they do is the forest defense, or home defense. They could do a lot of different things with the traps, but it's kind of difficult to say where they're going to take them right now.
I'm expecting a lot of sort of improvised stuff, like just whole punji sticks shoved in it.
Yeah,
maybe a couple
most likely.
of. Oh, sorry.
Hopefully we can see those the log traps and stuff where you just kind of have a log tied up with the vine or something. That'd be pretty fun.
Predator all up in this.
And yeah, the thing is you can even camouflage your traps and your house and even yourself to make sure you're not seen as easily as you would be normally, which is something you don't really see. Sometimes you'll like say, oh, there's camo outfit number 1 and camo outfit number 2, but in this game it's actually done by you, which makes it seem a little more real, I guess.
Yeah.
And seems like they can use camo and stuff too, as you can see in one of the pictures. One of them is wearing some type of wooden thing on his head. I don't really know what it is.
He looks like he fell on a cactus.
Kinda, yeah. Or he thinks like he. It looks like he thinks he's Batman.
Actually, that looks like maybe some antlers and skulls. Come to think of it.
Oh, true, yeah. That could be. Yep. Okay. Well, this has gone on for a little while, so I think we might call it quits here. So, basically, for me, I'll give my final impression. Not really final because it isn't out yet, but for the time, I think it's going to be one of the most exciting games of 2014. And as for the horror genre, it's something quite new. And although if you generalize it, it may not seem that different. Once you actually look into it, it's a lot more in depth than pretty much anything we've seen yet. So I'm going to let Grant finish his opinion, and then we'll end the video from there.
Looking at this game, I see a lot of potential, and it really looks like it's going somewhere fantastic. Honestly, I'm really looking forward to seeing where they take it. I think that's it for me.
Yeah, alrighty then. And of course there'll be VR support, which is something I'll be looking forward to, at least to scare the hell out of me even more. But that'll be a little bit down the road, because I don't really see much point in buying a dev kit just for this game when the consumer kit comes out quite soon anyways. So hopefully we'll see that soon, and hopefully we'll see a lot more coverage and information on the forest in the upcoming months, and then the release, which will hopefully be received quite well. We'll be back next time with more coverage of the forest or anything else that we really seem fun and playable, I guess. And yeah, hope you all enjoyed the video and have a good day. Stop recording.